Have audio with weird pictures or something. All right. So from the beginning, we get to talk about computer and internet crime. Da-da-da-dum. It's a chapter y'all been waiting for, isn't it? It's funny because this chapter we usually wind up having to like rush through because we don't have enough time. And I think it's because we spend too much time on the discussion questions, but the discussion questions are fun. So, I mean, that's what we're here for, right? Discussion questions. There's our learning objectives. I wish they wouldn't put all those silly little transitions in there because it really drives me nuts. Ethical decisions regarding IT security. Are there any ethical decisions related to IT security? Why would you need ethics in IT security? Nobody? Okay, so let's say that they get attacked. Not physically attacked. Though this could apply for physical attacks too. To deal with computer crime, the firm should pursue prosecution of the criminals at all costs. Why? Anybody?
Make an example out of that.
Okay, maintain a low profile to avoid the negative publicity. That's a big one. Because what happens whenever people get hacked and it's all over the news?
Everyone freaks out. Stocks, all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah, like when it happened to Target. Remember? All their credit cards got stolen. I know. See what?
Yeah.
Equifax. Well, I mean, even the DOD got hacked. And all of their information got stolen. And they had to send out notices to everybody. And say, hey, I'm sorry, your information got stolen. You're a lowly contractor, so we're not going to give you anything to replace the money that, or the hassles that you're going through now. But, I mean, like Target, mine technically didn't get stolen, but it did. See, my sister, hers, they spent like $4,000 on her card. Mine wasn't a Target card. Mine was my FNB Visa. And I was looking back through all my charges, and I was like, wait a second. That's a weird charge. I was driving back from Tennessee on Christmas Day that year. Why would there be that weird charge on there? It was like $7.94 or something. At some weird place. And so I looked it up. I was like, yeah, this isn't mine. So I flagged it as fraud, and they had to send you a new card, and it's a pain in the butt.
They were testing it.
Probably.
Make a small purchase and confirm that the card's good.
And then sell it online.
And then you sell
Yeah,
it.
it's kind of like when my card got stolen recently.
You make more money that way.
And it either got stolen at Target or got stolen when I made the purchase for my daughter's pictures at okpics.com. OklahomaSchoolPics.com. Because Oklahoma School Pics was the last one, but the day before I'd also shopped Target, and with Target's history, it's one or the other. Thing is whenever they hacked it and they got all of my information. Because they bought some packages, and 3 of them they had shipped to my house. And so Ken called Guess, and he's like, okay, what was the email that they used? And they're like, well, and he's like, they finally said it was like Outlook, and he's like, okay, well, she didn't have an Outlook email, so we know it wasn't hers, because he thought maybe I like spaced and bought all this weird stuff. I'm like, okay, 1, I don't wear a size 7 shoe. 2, I definitely don't wear that Converse style of shoe, and 3, I would never wear a pair of Converse style shoes that says Guess literally from the back to the toe of the shoe. Seriously? And then they bought something from Wilson's Leather. So now we have this nice leather jacket sitting in our house that we have to ship back. And they ordered something from Zulily or something. And it's like some weird anime cartoon t-shirt thing. And I'm like, what in the world is this thing? And my daughter was like, oh, and she started telling me, and I'm like, okay, glad someone knows. So it had to be someone her age, I think, that did it. I don't know. The problem is I had the card with me. So if she had done it,
Have to have the card with you to do it online.
yeah, but she can't even figure out how to turn on a computer or a TV, much less actually use it to find something online.
Can you You said she left the TV on all day.
Yeah, she doesn't remember turning it on. So she went in there, she picked up the remote, because Ken looked at the camera, because there was a camera facing the back door, and it picked up her going in there and turning on the TV, and then that's how he knew exactly where the remote was. She went in, she turned it on, she was pressing buttons, she got it to the blue screen, which is basically input screen. She couldn't figure it out, so she went back to her room. Like, why would you even attempt it? You know you can't figure out our TV. We got her remote, it has a power button that's in red, a channel up, channel down, volume up, volume down, and that's it. That's all that's on the remote. And she has trouble with that one. It's too complicated. So she doesn't need anything more complicated. Following decisions should be taken by the firm. How much resources should be spent to safeguard against computer crime? That's going to be a big one, because you're going to have to evaluate the risks. Okay, so how much will we lose if we get hacked on this one specific thing? If this risk comes to play, how much will we lose versus how much would it cost for us to mitigate the risk now? If it's gonna cost you more to fix it now versus waiting and just dealing with the aftermath, you're probably going to wait and deal with the aftermath.
Yeah, that's like companies will only recall a product if they'll lose more money from lawsuits than the cost of recalling them.
Yep. I mean, it's kind of like the Samsung phones that were burning up everywhere. They finally did the recall, reissued phones, and they were doing the exact same thing. So it's like, what action should be taken when software is found susceptible to hacking? Usually they'll push updates. That's why we get so many updates all the stinking time. What should be done if recommended computer security safeguards increase operating costs? So I know that Tinker, when we went to AFNet, they were told you should do this in order to mitigate issues. And they said, okay, thank you. And they went to AFNet anyway without making any of the changes because they figured that making those changes would be too expensive and they could just deal with the fallout. Which means that everything kept crashing and it was chaos. But that was Tinker. So they're not the only ones that do stuff like that. Companies do it all the time, especially small companies who just can't afford it. Increasing complexity increases vulnerability. Number of entry points to a network expands continually, increasing the possibility of security breaches. It's like one of my students came to me and he was like, hey, I did port forwarding. Should I do port forwarding? Well, I don't know. There's reasons why people do port forwarding. I was like, but how many ports you have open, that's how many holes that people have that they can exploit. That's why when we do our Cyber Patriot stuff, part of what they do is they shut down different ports. And the reason they do that is because, do you need a telnet port open if you're not using telnet? No, it's a vulnerability. Shut that sucker down. Because the more ports that you have open that you don't need open, that's just something that someone's going to exploit. And they do. They will. Cloud computing. Environment where software and data storage are provided via the internet. Everybody uses cloud computing here, I assume. Virtualization software operates in a software layer that runs on top of the operating system. We use this extensively at my school at Midvale. Enables multiple virtual machines to run on a single computer. And the reason we do that is because we don't just because we have Windows 10 on our computers, but for the A+, they need to know Windows 7, and they need to know a little bit of Windows Vista. Hopefully that's going to go away soon though. And they need to know Windows 8 and 8.1. They need to know a little bit about Ubuntu. They need to know a little bit about server. Of course, that's partly Cyber Patriot. And so by having the virtual machines, we can have all those running on our computer, not all at once because then it'd be too slow. But we have 32 gigs of RAM on our computers. So with our virtual machines, they run quite nicely on those systems. Students are constantly saying, hey, Mrs. Dewey, I need your admin credentials. And I'm like, why? They're like, because I need to run this. So it's like, why? Because my second year students know they should not be asking me for my credentials for anything because they shouldn't be running anything on their computer. They're supposed to do everything in a virtual machine. Because if they do it on their computer, it's wiped the moment we reboot the computer because we have deep freeze on the computers. If they do it on a virtual machine and save it to the D drive, it's saved. Yes?
That's how it is on computers here.
Defreeze?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a pain in the butt because updates screw them up. We had to go through, because when Johnny left, he kind of deleted out my console, and so I couldn't disable defreeze. So this summer we had to reinstall a console, and then I had to uninstall deep freeze off of every single computer, and then install the newest version because you couldn't just upgrade. And that way it would link with my new console. But then I had to turn off deep freeze for the entire summer so that I could update all the computers because they kept crashing every time they tried to update whenever it was trying to turn it off and then update and turn it back on. So I just left it off for the summer so they could update. It worked out better. Okay, so why computer incidents are so prevalent is because everything is done by computers. Higher computer user expectations, not verifying users, sharing of logon IDs and passwords by users. I don't know how many times I was told whenever I was at Tinker, oh, you can just have my pen. No thank you. Because I'd be out there working on their computer, and when I needed something, I'd have to make them enter their PIN. So for them, they were like, oh, no, you can just go ahead and, you can have my PIN. I'm like, I don't want it. Because I want to have the deniability if anything goes wrong, that, hey, I didn't do nothing. I didn't even have their PIN. And so my manager used to laugh at me because every time he would go to enter his PIN, I would look away. And he'd be like, you don't do that. I'm like, yeah, I do. And it's funny because my students, when we go over that part in class, it's like you don't want to look at their passwords. I was like, don't even look at the screen when they do it. I was like, I'm in the habit now. If you start entering your password, even if I know the password because I set them up on the computer, it's a habit. I turn away, and they're like, we wondered why you did that. I was like, that's why. It's because it's so ingrained in me now from working at Tinker for so many years that I just look away. So, and it's better if you do that because then nobody says, oh well, so and so was staring over my shoulder when I entered my password. You know what I mean? Unless it's my kids, and then I'll look. I'll try to find them out. Expanding and changing systems requires one to keep up with the pace of technological change, perform an ongoing assessment of new security risks, and implementing approaches for dealing with them. Okay, so my adult student in my new class dropped this week. We knew it was coming because his daughter is in my second-year class, and she told me that he never sticks with anything. But that's not the thing. I can't share these videos with them because I talk about them too much. He went home, and she was reporting to me what he would say at home. He was not happy because the students knew more than him. They're high school students, though.
So you're in the same class.
And there are some people who do not feel comfortable with someone younger knowing more than them, which means that they're never going to advance far in any career because they're afraid of people who are younger than them knowing more. I mean, I don't get it. I know that there's a lot of people who know more because a lot of y'all have worked, some people have worked in IT for years that are in my classes. Some people know more about different areas just because that's what they've done. It's just the fact of the matter. Well, they were having to do a project and they had to use PowerPoint, and he had no clue how to use PowerPoint, so he had to have one of these little 11th graders come and show him how to use it because he didn't want to ask me, and he didn't like that they knew more.
You know how to use Google?
See, and that's my thing, because if he had asked me, I would probably be like, did you Google it? Because that is my answer to most of my students, because if they have honestly tried to find the answer and can't, then I will help them. But I will help them by helping them Google it and find the answer to walk them through it. Because if I just show them how to do it, they're never going to be able to do it on their own. But if I walk over there and I say, how do I do this in PowerPoint? And it brings up the answer, the first one, I'll be like, there you go. Because my students kept saying, oh, we can't get ScreenLeak to install on the Raspberry Pis. It's just not working. It's just not working. It's just not working. So I went on to Google, and I said, how do I install ScreenLeak on a Raspberry Pi? Brought up the very first link. It had detailed instructions on how to install ScreenLeak on a Raspberry Pi. Which the one person who had actually installed it, those were the instructions he had followed.
It's easier on Raspberry. What's the other one that they have on Raspberry? They have the two.
Well, we did Raspbian on the first one that we did, but
yeah, the other one that's easier. One of them is easier for ScreenLeak than the other one.
We did Raspbian Lite.
Okay.
We wound up having to do Raspbian Lite. We were going to just do Noobs.
Yeah.
New out of the box. And it worked on mine.
Yeah.
It worked like a dream. But for some reason, I don't know if it's because the one that I got from Rose State is a newer version, or if maybe the ones I got them was a newer version, but for some reason it literally was not there on the list.
You have to go through like a million steps on new that you don't have to do on.
Well, I mean, on Noobs, when I did Noobs, literally I plugged it into the thing, it brought it up, they said Streamly there, I selected Streamly, and it installed right away. Theirs did not have the option for Streamly.
Good.
And I mean, I even took one of their drives, went to my computer, did the exact same thing I did with mine, had them plug it back into their machine, and there was no Streamly.
You have to do all the GPIOs.
And so they had to do the more complicated version, which, I mean, it was still doable. Once they followed the instructions, they did it. The problem is they're high school. Of course, and a lot of people do that. But they just don't read the instructions. Because I even had instructions for my first years on the screen in Google Classroom. And they're like, they pull up the link that's there, and they're like, what do we do once we get to the link?
The link tells you what to do.
It's like the instructions were on Google Classroom right above the link. Oh. So today I told them, I was like, yep, I've got this really long, hard, complicated homework assignment for y'all because I really don't feel like doing anything today. And they looked at me and they're like, we've already checked Google Classroom. Because they're supposed to come in first thing in the morning and they're supposed to check Google Classroom. And I had already posted that we were going to watch a movie and they had already checked it. So it's like, okay, well, that didn't work. But they're supposed to. It's just they don't always check it. I guess they're learning, which kind of sucks on my goofing off with them. But anyway, bring your own device. Policy that permits employees to use their own mobile devices to access company computing resources or applications. Some companies won't even allow you to bring your phones into the building. When I worked at Dell, we had lockers outside of our room. You had to put the phone in the locker before you could go in. If they caught you with your phone, it was a write-up. And I don't know how many people kept sneaking their phones in the room. To me, it wasn't worth the risk because I knew that I would be tempted to check my phone every once in a while. So it's easier just to leave it. But there were some people who did. They just left it in their drawer, left it in their pocket, and they'd sneak it, and you'd see them looking underneath the desk, looking at their phones. Increased reliance on commercial software with known vulnerabilities. So what's an exploit? Okay. What's a zero-day attack? Zero-day attack is something that's not known, something that has not been found. So like the software just came out, and there's hackers automatically out trying the software, trying to find exploits. And a zero-day attack is something that it was not known.
Yeah, uses the vulnerability to make an attack
before the software company is able to put a patch out there.
0 days of resistance.
Yes. And I wish we could play it here. We don't have enough time. But there's a movie out there called 0 Day, and it's about the Stuxnet virus and how they... I haven't watched it yet, but if it's like the book that it's based on, the book actually goes through how they tracked it and how they broke it down and how they discovered what it did and where it came from and everything. It's fascinating. Okay, so BYOD policy. Develop a strong argument against the adoption of a bring your own device policy for a large financial services organization. So I need someone to give me a strong argument against the adoption of a bring your own device policy.
Viruses.
Okay.
Not everyone uses the same security or cares.
Okay.
And your system is only as strong as your weakest link.
Exactly.
And so people bringing in their own devices will often bring in a lot of weaknesses.
Exactly. Especially those Android users who are connecting to Android tech devices to the network. I use an iPhone.
Yes.
I give my students a hard time. It's funny because there's this one, he interrupts all the time. But it's usually good information. It's just the way he goes about delivering the information that drives me nuts. Because he doesn't stop, ever. But he's got an iPhone. And so he's like, iPhones are so much better than Androids. I was like, yes, I know. It's like, if you're trying to preach, you don't have to because I already know all this. He's like, yeah, but Androids can do so much more. I was like, yeah, but, and then he continues on. He's like, yeah, but they get so many more viruses. But you can put the little, the SD card in there. And you can put so much more stuff on them. I was like, yeah, but ours is more secure. He's like, yeah, I know. And then, I mean, he was like bringing up the pros and the negatives, like he was trying to talk himself into getting an Android. I don't know. But, I mean, he's weird like that. He really is. I mean, we'll be sitting in there talking about one thing, and he'll be like, should I get these tires on my car? What does that have to do with the price of tea in China? He will. I mean, they're good about squirrels in my classroom because they know that I get off topic a lot, which y'all probably already noticed. And it takes me a minute to realize, oh, they just let me on a squirrel chase again. So, yeah, get back. Okay, now develop a strong argument in favor of the adoption of such a policy. Somebody else.
You don't have to dish out money for those devices.
Okay.
Morale. Increase morale. Device.
Yeah. What you could do is maybe implement a policy to where you have to have like antivirus software and it has to be updated regularly before you can bring the device in or something, especially for Androids, not for iPhones. iPhones are special.
That's why if you work for the government, you get free anti-software.
Do they have for phones too?
For,
The government doesn't have Wi-Fi that you can connect to, and you can't connect anything to their network, so it doesn't really apply to the government. They still don't want you taking devices into the government that are your own. Even phones are kind of hesitant on sometimes because they don't want you taking snapshots or videos of things. So that's why on base, if they catch you taking a photo, and they are quick to chase you down and say, no, delete those photos. Like when the president
they're
flew in.
supposed to actually take your phone, not tell you to delete it.
Yeah, I got lucky on that one because when the president flew in and his plane was fixing to leave the airport on base, I was taking a picture of the plane just because I could say I saw Air Force One. And, yeah, they came running over and they were like, you can't do that. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm deleting it. And we laughed. I didn't delete it, but I mean, said I did. What? I had a pic. It wasn't like I was sharing it on Facebook or anything. I just wanted a picture so I could say, hey, look, see what I saw? But I wasn't going to share it on Facebook because then I knew that they'd be like seeing me and
Then you can do
then I could have gotten fired.
Was it more maybe like a safety issue? Just
Yeah,
because
they-
you're
you can't-
pointing something at
you
airports
can't-
or-
no,
like,
you cannot
like,
take pictures on
security
base.
issue?
They do not want pictures taken on base because they don't want the pictures getting out and people being able to find vulnerabilities.
There might be something in the picture that would
Something that's
cause
confidential,
something bad to
something,
happen.
yeah. So it's like when Ken drives on base, he has to unplug his camera because he's got a camera facing the front in his car. They make him unplug his camera before he's allowed to drive on base. So yeah, no cameras allowed on base. Not even worth trying because you get in big trouble. And they're quick to pull you over too for
They have
anything.
legitimate security. So if you
Oh, yeah.
classify airplanes, that's what
Oh yeah, I definitely understand that. It's just I really wanted that picture. So, I mean, it's not like I was going around taking pictures of confidential things and sharing it on the internet or whatever.
weren't in the AWACS phase.
No. I wouldn't want to do anything to jeopardize security for our troops. So, and if I thought that it was going to be something, I would definitely have deleted it. But I knew I wasn't going to share it with anybody. It was just going to be something for me. So, virus. Piece of programming code disguised as something else that causes a computer to behave in an unexpected and undesirable manner. I think y'all know what a virus is by this point, right? Everybody's taking principles of information security. A worm, a harmful program that resides in the active memory of the computer and duplicates itself over and over again. And my favorite is a Trojan horse, a program in which malicious code is hidden in a seemingly harmless program. I always picture the Trojan horse,
Or an email.
Yeah.
The Chinese did it to us.
People do it to us all the time.
Well, look, they had a pilot program where they exchanged pilots and they became friends and they were emailing back and forth. But every email the Chinese sent over had one little piece of the Trojan.
Wow. And a logic bomb executes when it's triggered by a specific event. Spam. Does anybody not know what spam is? Does anybody not have any experience with spam? Okay. Use of email systems to send unsolicited mail to large numbers of people. Very annoying. And then we know what the CAPTCHA is because it's that annoying thing that has either letters or pictures that you have to enter in order to access certain sites or to prove that you're human and not a computer.
And that's
Sometimes
how,
it still thinks that you're a computer and not a human whenever you do it because you can't read the darn thing, and so you just enter something.
that's how they took down the Silk Road.
Do what?
That's how they took down the Silk Road capture.
Yeah, one of my students was asking about the dark web. He's like, can we do that? No. It's like, why not? It's like, okay, one, the moment I download the software needed so that we could do that, a Tor browser, they're going to flag it, and they're going to say, oh no, and they're going to shut us down. I was like, there is no way we can do this on school property. I was like, if you just feel like you must do it at your home. Don't be surprised if the FBI starts flagging you. I was like, because you may not be doing anything illegal, but they don't know that you aren't.
Yeah, that's kind of the whole point of the Tor browser.
Exactly.
You don't know what you're doing.
And so if you're going onto the dark web, just don't be surprised if at some point they start investigating you, because, I mean, I'm just saying, they're getting a lot better at finding people out that are on those.
The FBI guy came and gave a brief that they talked about the Silk Road and how they caught him.
That's cool. I wish I'd been there.
Because it was talking about how they could never get him, but someone did an attack on him, DDoS or something on him, so he put a CAPTCHA up there, but he didn't put that on the Tor, so it gave him his specific IP. The CAPTCHA did. And that's how they got him.
Wow.
How they say it.
Yeah.
Okay, distributed denial of service attack causes computer to flood a single target with demands for data and other small tasks. Rootkit enables users to gain administrator-level access to a computer without the end user's consent. And phishing is fraudulently using email to try to get the recipient to reveal personal data. Has anybody ever had an email from someone trying to phish them for information? No? Never?
That most spam is.
I was going to say, because I get emails all the time
You're
saying
going to
that I have
jail.
issues for my banking account and I need to log in and make sure that my information is safe. And then if you look at, if you actually click on it, you'll see that it's not really my bank that it's pointing to. It's going somewhere else. It just looks like my bank. So anytime I get an email from my bank, I log directly into my bank and I'm like, okay, is there an issue? Most times, no, there's no issue. Usually if there's an issue in my bank, they send me a text message saying, hey, did you just purchase this? That's the kind of alerts I get.
The new thing they're doing is calling you, and now they have those automated protocols that are VoIP from overseas or whatever. And then they say, is this Williams, right? And you say, yes. They record you saying yes. And then they call your bank, and then they play voice back to your bank with those responses. So that when your bank says, hey, this wasn't fraudulent, you can't, I mean, they have your voice over there saying yes. They say that now the best thing to do is say, this is Williams, right? Not say yes or no or whatever.
Oh, wow.
Those things.
Well, I don't feel bad for hanging up on those type calls anymore then. Because Ken will play with them sometimes. But me, I'm just like, I don't have the patience for it. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And I just hang up.
So I do too. I play with them and I act like I'm Earl. And I like,
Oh, yeah, Ken loves it.
There's a whole subset of like games online called 419 scamming. So like when the Nigerian prince calls you or writes you an email, you send him through the motions. So that like one guy had him carve a Mac keyboard from like 1982 out of wood, and then send him a picture of his carved Apple keyboard from 1982 in order to keep that guy off. If you go to 419 scammers, they have the most wonderful stories where they show how they've managed to reverse the game on these guys. 419 is the penal code for scamming people.
Scammers?
Yeah. In Nigeria, that's the 419 part of the
Message, I
penal
want
code.
you to
Whatever.
return the call.
I think it's 419. Am I wrong?
Yeah, kind of like those. Yep, Ken got that one. He spent forever on the phone with them, and they're like,
going to arrest
yeah, they told Ken that they were going to come to his house and arrest him. And he carried on the conversation with them for 30 minutes before he was like, well, I'm not going to pay. Just let them go ahead and come. And he did. And he was like, oh, they should have been here by now. Where are they? They're not here yet. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it says the local sheriff's gonna come arrest you.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, so distributed. That's just like a diagram showing distributed denial of service. All these computers are hitting this one server or computer. Okay. A successful distributed denial of service attack requires the downloading of software that turns unprotected computers into zombies and under the control of a malicious hacker. Should the owners of the zombie computers be fined or otherwise punished as a means of encouraging people to better safeguard their computers? What do you think?
Double-edged sword. That's what it sounds like.
Mm-hmm. Because yes, they should be updating their computer to prevent stuff. And not only that, they should watch what they're clicking on. The problem is how many users do that. I mean, how many times at Tinker did they have to send out an email saying, oh, don't open this email, or don't open this forwarded whatever the heck.
But
People
how
do it
can
all
you
the
make a
time.
law? You have to specify what the word protected means.
Yeah, you'd have to do a lot of specifying, especially if you're going to make it a law
But
or a
that's-
rule.
Yeah, so you can't,
Because you'd have to be very specific.
yeah.
Shouldn't do that, though.
I don't know. They make some laws that are complicated.
Maybe so, something.
It's harder with
something
computer
like
crimes,
this, Yeah, something like this is guaranteed it's gonna be changed within 6
You would have to
months.
prove that they did it intentionally, I think, in order to do it.
100%.
Most people whose computer is like being used.
They don't even know.
They don't even know.
Well, it's kind of like my mom before she lost her memory and couldn't use computers. It's like she was constantly sending all those stupid and forwarded stuff. You know, send this on to 10 friends
Same
and
letter or
have good
whatever.
luck or whatever.
That drives me
And it's
nuts.
like, seriously? And so I was constantly having to delete that crap out of my email. So, I mean, I was kind of grateful when she couldn't remember how to turn her computer anymore, but at the same time, it just sucks because I have to take care of her. So I don't know. I'm of two minds on this because it would be nice if they had some sort of law, but they're never going to do it just because there's too many people in the older generation that have absolutely no clue on computers.
One interesting question is, would it work? I mean, even if you publish them, you know.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, it's kind of like
Things
copyright
change
laws.
every
Yeah.
day, though.
I mean, how hard is it? I mean, how many people in here have ever downloaded something illegally? Okay, how many people in here have ever had to pay a fine because you downloaded something illegally?
I got a letter once.
I got disconnected from, who was it? Comcast, Cox. They disconnected me for like a week.
Yeah, I got one of those letters.
Yeah, Ken was uploading all of our movies to Google so that we'd have a backup, and they flagged him because he was uploading copyrighted material.
You have to just go through. I mean, there's
Yeah.
always a way around it.
Yeah, well, he found a way around whatever he needed to do, but it was just. But I mean, people are going to do it. There's no way they can catch everybody that does it. They're going to go after the people who are doing excessive more than the other.
Because it was funny, I went to Office Depot one day and was waiting to talk to somebody. This old man was upset with people there because they couldn't unlock his computer from ransomware. He got a phone call from Microsoft,
Oh, wow.
and they told him, "Oh yeah, hey, there's something wrong with your computer." He logged on and then let them have access.
Microsoft called him.
Yeah, but he didn't know. That's what I'm saying. He didn't know.
It's kind of like the video that Ken posted on his YouTube channel. They called Henry one day, and so Henry actually was with Ken when they called, and so they played a joke on him. They logged into a virtual machine upstairs and walked the guy through it. Thing is on a virtual machine, whenever, Henry was a student that was up here.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
he,
I thought I missed it.
Yeah.
no, he didn't. He was not my favorite person in the world because every time I would leave, he would like walk out to my car and he would put his leg in the door so that I couldn't shut the door because he wanted to talk to me. He was the one person I told my little sister when she started the program, I was like, don't hang out with Henry. I was like, just avoid him and you're fine. Who did she make friends with? The only friend she made up here was Henry. Hopefully he's never listening to these videos because that would be really awkward.
Was he malicious or just lonely?
He was just lonely. So, I mean, it was just annoying because I had 3 kids. I was ready to go home at the end of the day. I didn't want to stand up here and visit. And so, yeah, it was Anyway, we're getting off topic again.
Sorry.
So, yeah, I don't think that they could ever prosecute everybody just because the people who are generally going to be doing this are the people who are ignorant of what's going on.
He got a phone call from Microsoft. He logged in, said, "Hey, here's everything."
Well,
Yeah.
They locked it
Who
up.
said they were Microsoft?
Yeah. Well, it's like when Ken did it and they had the virtual machine. Usually whenever they're doing a regular computer, you can't see what they're doing. But with it being a virtual machine, the software didn't work correctly, so he could see them going through all of his files, which was a virtual
Which
machine.
they said,
had
"Oh,
almost
your
nothing on
screen is black at the moment."
Yeah.
I've watched a few.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If y'all haven't watched it, look at Ken's YouTube channel. It's pretty interesting.
It's funny, it's that because guys like, "Oh yeah, we just got to do this. Your screen is
And then
black.
whenever he
Don't worry
enters the
about
credit
that."
card information, Ken's trying to scroll down so he could read all the rules and regulations and various things, because he knew that what the guy was doing. And the guy kept scrolling up so he could copy the number down. It was crazy. It was a stupid made up number anyway, but it was the fact of the matter. So, Can Spam Act controlling the assault of non-solicited pornography and marketing. It's illegal to spam, provided the messages meet a few basic. It is legal to spam, provided the messages meet a few basic requirements. Spammers cannot disguise their identity. Luckily, most of the spam now, yeah, most of it goes to your junk mail now, so you don't even see it. Problem is sometimes it mistakenly flags other things as spam, and so you have to go into the junk mail and you have to say, "Oh yeah, this is good." Sometimes you never even realize it until months later, and you're like, "I never got that." Which the email that I was looking for may be in there. I may have to go look in there. Well, I got an extra something. I got something shipped wrong, and I told them that it was shipped wrong, and they said, "Okay, we're going to send you a shipping thing so you can send it back." Because I wasn't going to pay to send it back. I didn't order that, and I never got it, so I just sent it to us. Like my daughter's like, "Ooh, can I have it?" It's like, "No, they're going to send me something, so I send it back." Spam. Provide a real-world example or describe a hypothetical situation where a legitimate organization used spam in an effort to effective and non-intrusive manner to promote a product or service.
Well, if you can, like Forever 21, you go, you shop there, and they're like, "Hey, can we have your email?" You get it, and they start sending you all these type of deals. And I'm in the same way with Best Buy, right? Just they spam deals to you. Is that what your situation you got about, or?
That might. I mean,
The term spam kind of implies that it is intrusive.
yeah.
So like saying
It's more of
non-intrusive
something you
spam.
didn't sign up to receive.
Well, it says non.
Yeah, it does say non-intrusive. So we could probably look at it.
Know how to make your penis bigger than I don't.
You get some really weird ones. You really do, and it's like if you go searching on the internet for something, you'd be surprised at how many emails you're going to get regarding that thing that you just looked.
Well, now you don't even have to search up anything. If you realize, if you talk about something, and then there's like cell phones around, once you go onto Google, you'll have all these ads of what you were talking about. Not even searching.
One of my students, there was this T-shirt that they had on Amazon, not Amazon, it was on Facebook. It's one of those sponsored things that you see when you're scrolling. I even did it, copied the picture out because it was just really cool. It says Hard Rock, and in the circle that they usually have under the Hard Rock, it has the Hogwarts Castle in the circle, and then it says Hogwarts in the little Harry Potter font underneath it. It looked really cool, and I was like, I don't really need another T-shirt, so I didn't get it. Didn't like the page, apparently, or anything. And then I was like, the more I think about it, I was like, that'd be a really cool shirt, because when we go to Universal, we always stay at the Hard Rock. It would just be really cool to have. I cannot for the life of me find it. So she was like, if you just say it while you're searching online, it'll reappear. So we did it. We said it like 20 times. It never reappeared. So, but I did online searches for that shirt too, and it's one of those, where people create it and they sell it and it's available for a limited time or whatever. So I don't know that I'll ever see it, but they had that one and they had one for the Death Star, and they were both the same basic, because it had the Death Star in the circle and said Death Star on the bottom, and it looked really cool too. But I wanted Hogwarts, not Death Star. Except for in that circle, instead of it being yellow, it had the Hogwarts Castle.
Okay.
So it was like black with the Hogwarts Castle and it lit up. It was really cool looking. So, and I found the photo that I think that they took it from, and so I was thinking I might just have it made. I don't know, because I really wanted it at this point. So, I don't know. So sometimes if it's effective and non-intrusive, it makes us want to buy something that we would not normally have bought. Kind of like the ones on Facebook where you're scrolling and you see all those stupid little ads that are like, seriously, I Googled those shoes for somebody else. I don't need to see a picture of them every time I scroll through. You know, that kind of thing. But sometimes they lure you in. There was a t-shirt that I ordered my husband for his birthday that was on there. He's gonna love this shirt. Okay, you have to realize I like Harry Potter. My husband does not. Did I show you? I showed it to you?
No, you told me.
Okay, so I gotta read this to y'all because it's really funny. Of course, if he's listening, I don't know if it'll tell me if he's listening or not. It
They'll
won't
tell
me.
you if someone's online.
Okay, well, then I don't think he's listening. Oh, here, nope, that's the wrong one.
Whatever
Oh, right here.
Gary does,
It says, to my wizard wife, my obsession for you is ridiculous. That's a spell. I love you more than Dobby loves socks. I'll love you always, which if you know anything about Harry Potter, you know always is a big thing for Severus Snape. Anyway, your muggle husband. It's really cool looking, right? So anyway, that's part of my birthday present to him. That and that shirt that he's been wearing for the Star Trek, where he's tapping his chest. That was. I told him he had to open that one early.
I like it's in the silver of the shirt.
Yeah, he's had that one for a long time. So that was like, he was wearing that whenever I was going through this program. I think it was new the year I went through this program. So 2008 or 2009.
It's the shirt anyone who's ever got a class.
You know, that would be nice. I would like to have one of those. More for this school than my other school because my syllabus for the other school is not quite the same as this one's a little more detailed. Botnet, group of computers which are controlled from one or more remote locations by hackers without the knowledge or consent of their users, their owners. Zombies are computers that are taken over. Used to distribute spam and malicious code. Types of phishing. So what is spearfishing?
And you do it to, what is it, like,
It's
high
specific target.
position.
Yeah, cables and targets.
Specific target, usually it's going to be someone in upper management.
John Podesta.
That's what Russians used to
Yeah, John
hack the DNC.
They were clever about it though. They managed to do like, I don't know if it was cool or not, but instead of the L, they used a capital I, which is virtually identical. But I thought that was pretty clever.
Their emails designed to look like they came from high-level executives within the organization. Sometimes. Smishing, a legitimate-looking text message sent to people telling them to call a specific phone number or to log onto a website. That one would probably get me more than just an email from my bank, just because my bank does text me all the time. Is this charge legitimate? Text confirm if it is or deny if it's not. Usually I look at it and I'm like, confirm. It'd be easier if you said yes, but okay, confirm. Maybe that's why they changed it to confirm and not yes. Anyway, and so then I have to, on that last one, I had to log into my account and actually look at it because I've never been to glasses.com. It's weird. Phishing, victims receive a voicemail telling them to call a phone number or access a website. I don't know that I've ever, well, I guess you kind of had that with that one from the FBI. It was the FBI, right?
IRS.
IRS,
Got a
yes.
couple of those actually, because I don't answer numbers I don't know.
See, they don't normally leave a voice message for me, but yeah, I don't answer them. And then two of them turned out to be my daughter, so I have.
The FBI does not.
Well,
No, I don't think they would. I don't think the IRS does either, because even when my mom didn't pay her IRS bills, you know what they did? They just garnished her wages. They don't call you.
Yeah, the IRS.
They
doesn't
just
call
take
you.
their money.
The government will never call you or even email. They'll send you a letter if they need.
They will send you a letter after
Oh,
they
yeah.
garnish.
Oh yeah,
I'll
no,
send you
they'll
a
send you
letter
letters
to
before
tell
they garnish too. She
Yeah, we're
just
garnishing
ignored
your
them.
wages.
No, when we got all of her stuff from her house, she had literally buckets of mail that she had never opened. So all of those notices from the IRS that she hadn't paid taxes in like 2 or 3 years, those came from them, and she was fairly forewarned frequently that they were going to garnish her wages. So it is what it is. Types of perpetrators: thrill seekers wanting a challenge. Okay. Common criminals looking for financial gain. Industrial spies trying to gain a competitive advantage. Terrorists seeking to cause destruction to further their cause.
Vindictive axes.
Yeah. Okay. Where would Kevin Mitnick fall in? Anybody know? Anybody else? Anybody know who Kevin Mitnick is? Oh my gosh, y'all have not taken my principles class.
Some people are really young in this class.
I know, but if they'd taken my principles class, the very first assignment that I make everybody do is write me a 1-page paper, a minimum of 1-page paper on Kevin Mitnick.
He's a hacker as a social engineer.
I know, but he's like a whiz at social
Yeah,
engineering.
he's great. He's the godfather.
I know, it's like I don't understand because I'm not good at that. I'm not good at lying to someone to their face like that. I mean, but he's like, I've watched him. And when he came to speak up here, it was just, oh yeah, Rose State paid him $30,000 to come and speak.
Who did?
Rose State did. He came and he spoke for Rose State, and it was amazing. I got his autograph. It was awesome. Got an autograph for me and for a coworker.
Man, I would love it.
I know, right? And his business card was a set of lockpicks. You could pop them out. It was awesome. But yeah, I mean,
Was it metal or was it plastic?
it's kind of like aluminum. I mean, it wasn't really stiff metal, but it was the
They
type of
worked
metal.
well on that.
Oh, they probably did. I didn't take mine apart. I still have it somewhere. Yeah, I got the Ghost in the Wires book autographed, and then I got the business card. For my friend, though, I just got the business card autographed. He's like, I don't know how this is going to stick. I was like, I don't care. That's what he said he
Was
wanted.
the Ghost in the Wire the one written by the guy who tracked him down from?
No, Ghost in the Wires was he wrote it,
Oh, okay.
and it was his account of everything that happened, I believe.
There was another one that was written by the guy who tracked him down, who worked at like the University of, no, SS Stanford Research Institute. SRI is where the other guy worked. He was like the network administrator. It was like maybe not the first, but the first fairly serious, investigation of it. It was really interesting. Sorry.
I don't think I've read that one. See, we have Art of Intrusion, Art of Detection, and then Ghost in the Wires. And if y'all haven't read them, I highly recommend them. I haven't read all of them.
It's canonical. I mean, it's.
You'll have to send me the information on that one so I can read it. But then they also have them in audiobooks, which is why I haven't finished them, because I started listening to them in audiobooks instead. And
So are these books or are they art?
they're books. I mean, they're like books. So, but they're good. My son's read Ghost in the Wires twice because he found it very interesting, which is why I wanted him to get computers, but he didn't want to. He decided, see, their dad has no rules, no chores, no nothing. They can sit at home and play video games, and so both he and my 20-year-old, my 18-year-old both moved in with their dad as soon as they could because they wanted to be able to do nothing. And I don't know any teenagers that wouldn't want to.
Yeah. You don't push them.
That's why I think it's better whenever the parents are not quite so nice and then the kids are dying to get out of the house because the rules are just oppressive. Problem with my kids is that when they move out because the rules are oppressive, they move straight in with their dad, and I don't like that either. So it didn't really work out too well in my instance because they didn't do what they should have done, and because he won't say enough's enough, he'll just continue supporting them probably until he dies.
They'll regret it,
Oh yeah, they will definitely regret it.
Realize they basically.
And we've been telling him the entire time, because he quit in 2003 when my baby was only 1. So all she's known is her daddy sitting on his butt and doing nothing. If you've seen that for pretty much your entire life, and he doesn't want to be a father, he wants to be their best friend.
Cuckoo's egg. That's what it was.
Cuckoo's egg?
Yeah, I got that when I was like 10 or 11 or something like that. My other friends didn't understand why I was so excited about getting a book for Christmas. But
It's kind of like Ghost in the Wires. My son absolutely loved it. He stole my copy and read it multiple times.
Cliff Stoll. That's
Cuckoo.
the Cuckoo's Egg by Cliff Stoll. Like, this one's 2005, but it was written 20 or 30 years ago.
All right, I'm sending myself another message. That way I remember to look into it.
If you like NSA stuff, you need to read Puzzle
Cliff
Palace.
Stoll was an astronomer.
Read
turned
Puzzle
assistant
Palace?
manager.
Hey, you're just going to have to email it to me so that I don't forget.
Okay.
Everybody just email me if you know some really good, like, hacking or, I don't know.
Well, Puzzle Palace is all about NSA stuff.
That'd be fun. Ken would love it too. Especially if he can find it in audiobook, because that's all he like when he does his jogging for an hour or something every morning, he listens to audiobook. And then he's like,
Your rose.
huh?
You wanna write your rose?
Sure, that works. As long as it's not Raider.rose, because Raider.rose screws up every once in a while. I need to forward it to my Rose. That way when it locks me out for the semesters that I did not appear teaching, then it doesn't screw me up. Because they don't tell you that your password's fixing to expire. They wait until it expires. And they're like, oh, you need to reset your password. But if you're not here, then it just expires. Yeah. It's squirrely like that.
Will change.
Yeah. Different types of perpetrators. Hackers, crackers, malicious insiders, industrial spies, cyber criminals, hacktivists, and cyber terrorists.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Anything that we're learning here at Rose, will we learn anything like, how to crack stuff or how to hack stuff? Or
Yes.
anything
Oh,
like
yeah.
Especially in forensics and penetration testing.
Okay. But I assume the higher stuff comes with the bachelor's or?
No, this is all associate.
Just so when they say John.
We couldn't turn our program into a bachelor's because UCO complained because they had a forensics program, and it wasn't until we got denied that they were like, oh, well, we don't have a digital forensics. I guess you could have done that. Well, by then it was too late.
This is a really good program. Yeah, the
This-
AA here. is
This was the
fantastic.
hardest program that I went through. Because I went through here and then I went through OSUIT, and the forensics at OSUIT compared to what was here was almost like a joke to me.
There's a lot of people like me who already have degrees and, did this one just because it's so fantastic.
It's great.
It's really good.
And then I went to Webster University for my master's. I wanted to go to Tulsa, but with 3 kids, there was just no way. So I keep saying that whenever the kids graduate, maybe, but by that point, I wouldn't want to leave I don't think I'd want to leave Mid-Dell to go up there for a year and a half to do that, and I've seen what hell they go through. And I've heard them griping at Ken all the time. I don't know. Don't know that it's for me. I have a feeling I would be crying a lot. I mean, if you get yelled at day in and day out, that's not my sort of motivation. And
You yell at people.
from what I understand, Dr. Shanoy yells at a lot of people.
You don't need to.
Oh no, but that's his way of motivating people. Problem is I think it brings people down more than it brings them up, and that's just. And this is basically going over that last slide, talking about the different types of perpetrators, what they do. Strategies to reduce online credit card fraud.
Don't shop online.
I've never had a problem with my information getting stolen from Amazon, knock on wood. But it's kind of odd that my charge went through to Target, and the next day I had 8 fraudulent charges on my account. Very odd. See, I thought I'd be safe online because their in-store was how I got hacked before. I don't shop at Target very often, but they're the only one that had the muggle shirt. And I finally get the muggle shirt in, and it's the wrong size. And so I get that fixed, and then they cancel my order because they didn't have any more in stock, and they don't know when they're going to get one in stock. So now I have this store credit because they screwed up the first one. And so now I'm like, I don't even know what I'm going to buy with that store credit because I can't get the muggle shirt. So So I may just have to give him the 2X large. It's going to be like a dress on Ken though because he's so skinny now.
Pajamas.
Kind of ruins. I have until November to get him one, so I just have to go online and see if I can find one somewhere else. I mean, but this one that I got him, this one's like the best shirt ever. So if I don't get him the other one, I'm okay. Because this one says "Love from your from your muggle husband" or something. So it's like that works for me. This one's awesome. He's gonna have to wear it too. I'll take a picture of him in it. Verify the address submitted online against the issuing bank. Problem is they shipped it to my address. And I don't know if the other 5 charges, they canceled the card quick enough or canceled the charges on my card quick enough that they just didn't ship. Or if they actually shipped them to a different address. Ken thought, because at first we only got the guest shoes, so he thought maybe they did the first one just to test it and see if it'd work, and that the others were probably sent to the correct, to their address. But then we got the Wilson's leather jacket and got the funky whatever shirts. So I don't know anymore. All I know is the shirts I can't send back because there's no information on it, and I don't have any information on the company.
Like it could have been like a newbie or something like that. Forgot to change the shipping address or something like that.
I don't know. All I know is they created a new email with virginia.dewey@outlook.com, but I don't have an outlook.com email. So, I don't know. That's weird. Request the card verification value, which obviously if they purchased online, they probably had to have mine. So it had to have been one of the websites that I entered my information that got hacked. Use transaction risk scoring software. Use smart cards. Mine have memory chips, but I didn't use a memory chip, obviously, because I brought it. I mean, I did it online. Could have used Apple Pay. Apple Pay would have done a different card number each time. I would have kept my card secure. But I don't know if it was even available to use at Target. Target needs to implement something like that since they keep getting hacked. Because I'm almost positive that's where it got hacked. Federal laws address computer crime. You've got the U.S. Patriot Act, which defines cyber terrorism and associated penalties. Identity Theft and Assumption Deterrence Act makes identity theft a federal crime. The penalty is up to 15 years imprisonment and a maximum fine of $250,000. Fraud and related activity in connection with access device statute. False claims regarded as unauthorized use of credit cards. See, I wish the identity theft had been in place when my identity got stolen years ago. Because we used an at-home daycare. And back then, your insurance cards, your ID number was your social security number. And I had to give my card to my daycare, and so she stole all of my information. And I still can't get Cox in my name because Cox would not clear that up. Because I knew her, which I still think is stupid. But it would have been nice if they'd had that before, because I had a police report showing that she did it, and that it was all in her information. It was all in her name.
That should be enough for Cox to remove that from
I sent on the police report twice, and they still wouldn't remove it. Well,
a fax or something like that. I'm shooting or something.
well, it's not on my credit.
Oh, it's not?
No,
Oh,
I mean,
well, then-
that was years ago, because my kids were like really little back then. But then my youngest is 16. So it's probably 15 years ago, 15 years ago. Back before it was common. Back before computers were so widespread that people started getting their identity stolen all the time. Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. Fraud and related activities in association with computers, accessing a computer without authorization, transmitting a program, code, or command that causes harm to a computer, trafficking of computer passwords, threatening to cause damage to protect a computer. And then stored wire and electronic communications and transactional records access statutes. Unlawful access to stored communications to obtain, alter, or prevent authorized access to a wire or electronic communication while it's in electronic storage. So, we were talking about laws if someone had their computer taken over for distributed denial of service, and how they would have to be very specific with the laws. I mean, look how many laws they have here. They would have to have probably at least that many just to address that. I mean, I would think either that or one law that has like multiple clauses underneath it. It would be very complicated to write. I'm glad that I'm not into the law. Trustworthy computing delivers secure, private, and reliable computing experiences based on sound business practices. Risk assessment. That's what we were talking about earlier, where a company is going to have to, evaluate the risk associated with, securing their computers or just any number of things versus what it's going to actually cost them. So risk assessment is assessing security-related risks to an organization's computers and networks from internal and external threats. Identify investments that will protect the organization from most likely and serious threats. Asset, hardware, software, information system, network, or database used by an organization to achieve its business objectives. Loss event, any occurrence that has negative impact on an asset. So there you go. General security risk assessment. You have to go through and you have to evaluate, and it's not a simple process. It would be a very, very extensive process if you're going to do it right. And is that something that you do once and you never have to think about again? No, that's going to be a continual thing that's going to be ongoing forever. Just because things change, technology changes, risks change, people come up with new, once you plug holes, people are going to come up with some other way to break in. Security policy, which I don't think we actually do that in here. I think it's an ISM. Defines an organization's security requirements and the controls and sanctions needed to meet those requirements. Delineates responsibilities and expected behaviors. Outlines what needs to be done and how, and not how it should be done. So why would you want to outline what needs to be done and not how it should be done?
All your process out there.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different ways to do different things. Establishing a security policy, areas of concern, use of email attachments, use of wireless devices, virtual private network, encrypts. That y'all know what VPN is, right? Creates a tunnel, makes your information more secure. Anytime you're on Tinker and you're connecting to the network from home, they use a VPN because it's the only way that they're allowed to connect because it makes it secure. It's also good if you're trying to hide your information. Exactly. Educating employees and contract workers motivates them to understand and follow the security policies. Users must help protect an organization's information systems and data by guarding their passwords, prohibiting others from using their passwords, applying strict access controls, and reporting all unusual activity to the organization's IT security group. Are users really good about guarding their passwords? No. The only time, when I was working at Tinker, you could always tell when someone or a group had gone through their security training. Because any other time of the year, you can walk through just about anywhere, being an IT person that they don't really know. You can walk through anywhere in 3001 and not get stopped. But if someone had just completed their annual training, it never failed. They'd stop you. Who are you? What are you doing in here?
You mean without your badge?
I had my badge, but they would still stop you because they were like, are you supposed to be in here? What are you doing in here? And I mean, I'd be like working on a computer and they'd be like, who are you and what are you doing? But it was funny because it was only when they had just done their training, because after a while they're like, they just, just kind of stop. And then they go through their yearly training again, and then they're like vigilant for probably a few days, and then they kind of slack off again. Some of them are probably like that all the time, but for the most part, you could always tell when someone had done their training, because for a few days afterwards, they would be vigilant, and it was just funny to watch. Ensuring that portable computing and data storage devices are protected. We didn't have a lot of that at Tinker probably because they didn't want people walking off with them. But they didn't have a backup system either. That was the thing that blew my mind when I started working at Tinker, because I'd come from Dell, and Dell had a backup system. Okay, Dell from Boeing had a backup system because Boeing backs up everything on their computers. And if your computer hasn't been backed up in a few days, it alerts you. If it hasn't been backed up in a week, the alert will not go away. You have to fix it. And so, I mean, even on our computers, when we were just the support for for Boeing, ours would do the same thing. You had to make sure that it was backed up. So going to Tinker from that, and there being absolutely no backup policy, we're like, what in the world is this? If you lose your data, you lose your data. That was the way they looked at it, because it was more cost effective for you to spend days or weeks trying to recreate everything that you just lost than it was to pay for storage to back everybody's data up. And in some instances, since you're not supposed to delete emails, people could legitimately send you back emails pretty much of most stuff that you'd done. There was one guy whose computer, he lost everything on his computer, and he did the hiring for the entire department, and it was a department of like 400 people, which means a lot of positions, and he lost everything. And so he had to email all the managers and say, hey, I need you to send me all the information on all your positions, because he had nothing. Which means it wasn't just him that was, you know, not being able to do any work because he didn't have anything, but he was having to interrupt all these different managers to have them look through their emails to find all this information for him. So I thought it was crazy. Prevention, install a corporate firewall. Intrusion detection system. There's two different ones. There's like a HIDS and a NIDS. Does everybody know what they are? Host and network. Antivirus software. Do you just install your antivirus software and never have to worry about it again? No, you need to make sure it's updating, because even if you set it to automatic updates, sometimes it doesn't automatically update, and then you're letting yourself be vulnerable. That's one of the. There's certain things that whenever my students do their Cyber Patriot, they have to make sure the firewall's turned on. They have to make sure that the updates are turned on, and that it's actually updating. And then there's certain things like Firefox and everything that they have to go in and they have to download the updates for. Huh?
Newsletter.
Yeah. Because those they won't automatically update, and so they have to specifically go in and tell it that they want to update. And then setting the policy for passwords and computer usage and various things, and then changing those passwords. Implement safeguards against attacks by malicious insiders. Promptly delete the computer accounts, login IDs, and passwords of departing employees and contractors. Doesn't always happen, but if you don't, and that person gets in there and they access your system, they could steal anything, and that would be bad. Defend against cyber terrorism. Address critical internet security threats, conducting periodic IT security audits. Almost out of time. United States Computer Emergency Readiness Team. Partnership between the Department of Homeland Security and the public and private sectors. Intrusion detection system. So what is a host intrusion detection system?
There'll be something on a software on your computer.
Okay. And network?
And the network is a device in the network.
Okay. So which one's better? Depends on what you need. But the host is going to use up more of your computer's resources, and so it's going to slow you down. So it depends on if you can deal with the computer lag. So like if it's like my computers where we have 32 gigs of RAM, we probably wouldn't notice it as much as the computers here in Rose State that only have four to maybe if you're lucky 8 gigs of RAM. Maybe. I think they have like 2 to 4.
It's like 3 to 6.
Yeah, there's not much.
Yeah.
Because we came up here to do some of our Cyber Patriot stuff, and when you're running a virtual machine, when there's that little RAM, it moved so slow. My students were like, "Oh my gosh, are these computers broken?" Because they're used to ours. We have a solid state drive that boots their computer, and then we have the regular drive that they store all their data on. So I mean, it zooms. It's fast. And they're not used to the super slow ones here because, they think, okay, this is college, ours is the technology center, the college will have better computers, and that's not the case. It's not the case. Now, does everybody at Middale Technology Center have computers like that? No. We have some of the better computers on campus. Why? Because we do computer work. We have to. Because if we didn't have them running fast, then our virtual machines wouldn't work, and then we'd be kind of screwed.
You get way less work done.
We would. Protection, response plan. We're just going to scroll through this. Of course, this is a big thing, responding to incidents. Computer forensics. Y'all get to go through that soon. Oh, there we go. There's the end. There's a lot of summary. This is actually one of my favorite chapters. I like this one just because it's very interesting. But y'all are free to go. I got everybody logged in for.
Yeah, nobody came.
Okay.